Hey guys, this is 25th Yo here, and we are here today with Hero Cantare. Now, I had wanted to do this game before, but it was in all Korean, and most people actually didn't want to play it because of that fact. But right now, we're going to go through some of the things and some of the changes that you might find if you're coming from Korea, and also going to be talking about some of the events that they released since this game actually just released yesterday. So let's get into that. I actually did want to start this game while I was at zero, but like I had to reach a certain point in the story so that I could unlock everything. So first thing we're probably gonna do is start with all the characters that it has. Now, let's see. Probably gonna start with the top with the God of High School characters. My bad, guys. All right. First we have Heavenly Warlord, which this is Morgan inside his actual god form. Now, Heavenly Warlord is actually a top tier character for PvE, pretty much every scenario you can use. He is mainly a tank. Like, this is one of the few tank characters that you have. His defense is quite high, his attack is still up there, his speed is up there, and his HP is actually pretty minimum. But I guess they made his HP minimum because his defense is actually such high. Now, he is actually probably one of the few, like I would say 20 characters that has, which you would see this. This is a special. Now, you usually get specials after around, I believe it's 5 turns. After 5 turns, you get a special. And your special is actually based off of what one of these attacks that you see. So you have attack 1, attack 2, and attack 3. Now I'm gonna go in and show you guys how that works in a bit, but let me actually go and show everything that he does. So attack 1, he attacks unconditionally and counterattacks with the next attack that comes up. On his attack 2, which he pierces the enemy for 1 turn in the back row, 175% attack, decreases opponent defense by 90% with 90% probability for 2 turns. So basically he has a 90% chance to decrease your defense by 90%. So basically what that means is when you get hit with a defense buff, his defense will actually drop down to around his defense will drop down from 900 to around 90. His third attack attacks all enemies with 120% of attack, which means it's 120% of the actual attack stat that he has, and inflicts additional 170% damage to opponent with the highest attack, and heals hero for 15% of your maximum HP. So he gets healed around, we're going to base this off of his base stats. He gets healed around 15,000, and his actual third attack would be boosted by 120, which would make this around, I would say, 28,000, but he gets an additional 170%, which would actually make this boost up to around probably 50,000. Now, mind you, there is a defense to play into this, which means that I would have to actually get the exact scaling for what defense does, like we do in Epic 7, because I am an Epic 7 player, but it won't exactly come out to that amount. Now, if you have a defense break, your attack will pretty much come out to what these base multipliers give. Like 100%, it will be as close as possible to these base multipliers, unless you have an attack that completely penetrates defense, which I'll show you those probably in another video. But yeah, and then he has these two pink things are what are considered to be passives. So his first passive will be a 20% attack boost, which actually applies to his end damage right here, because this is his maximum. The 15% attack, no, 15% defense boost, and a 10% speed boost, which his speed is actually 500, which is a pretty high speed in this game. And then you have attack speed. Attack and speed are boosted by 50%. Crit rate is boosted by 30%. In the state of limiter removed form, when its HP falls below 50. Ignores the next attack for 1 turn. And generates a shield of 20% of its HP. After 3 turns, limiter is removed. HP returns to 10%. So, this is what makes him so good right here. This passive. Now, once he gets below 50%, which means this is pretty good because you don't have to build him all attack. Now you can, but there's a chance that he might get killed. Like, in the first round, usually in PvP, in which I will show you in a second, in the first round, someone usually goes and has a attack that either hits your whole team extremely hard, or an attack that's strong enough to kill 1 unit in 1 go. Now, if he's the 1 unit that gets hit, then you're dead. Like, he dies. You don't get this passive. But if you build him for HP and build him for things like defense or guardian, which I'm going to show you what these sets do in a second. Let's see. Actually, no. Go here. Yes. Now, I can show you what these sets do. So, here we go. This gives HP. This is the HP set. This set right here is a Guardian set, which gives defense and HP. This is the Lightning set, which gives crit and attack. Well, usually they have different names, but we're just going to call them, you know, crit damage, HP, etc. So when you hear me say this, I would say the defense set. Actually, no, I'm gonna actually keep saying Guardian for that, because there is a defense set. This would we would call the crit set, HP set. Now you have the attack set, which gives attack, HP, attack. You have the lifesteal set, which absorbs damages HP and gives attack. And where is it? There should be a third. Here we go. You have what we call the crit damage set, which gives you crit rate and crit damage instead of just giving you crit rate and attack. Now, we also have, there's actually more sets than this. Let me show you the rest of them. There's a resistance set and a protection set also along with it. And I actually might have to go into my inventory to show you this set right here, because I don't actually think I have some on me right now. Here we go. Let me get that for you guys. And what these do is, one of these sets actually, I have to see which one it is between the resistance and the actual defense. But at least these sets are in uses of 2. Now, yeah, this one creates a shield at the beginning of your round. That's 10% of your HP. And the other one actually negates a turn. So the other one completely negates like the first 1 or 2 attacks that hits you. And I'm pretty sure that's the case unless they changed it since they went over from Korea, because that's what it used to do. But in general, if you have one of those sets, because I'm going to show you right now how sets would actually go on. Now, the way sets work is they work in a process of how many you have. So with the first piece of the set, you get no extra buff. When you get 2 for attack set, you get 8. You get the 8%. When you get 3, you get the 12%. When you get 4 out of 3, which you see here, you would actually get the last percentage chance. Now, you're able to actually equip 6 items of the same set. So you're able to mix and match which ones you want, as as far as you can have a 3 for attack and a 3 for HP. This is what I'm doing right now, and you do that by using these, which is an extra equipment that you craft by going to Forge, clicking Craft, and adding 2 items. Um, Sorry about that. But you can actually mix and match your sets. Some sets come in groups of 4, while others, if you see, will come in groups of 2 or 3 if I can actually get them equipped. I don't know if I even have some that would work that way, but like this one comes in a group of 2. Put my attack set back on. Switch this out. Now, one thing for gear, which I'm probably jumping all over the place, so I'll probably just make a separate video about gear in general. Go back to collection, heroes. Now, the thing that you want to do for him is you actually probably want to do HP attack, or you can do HP and one of the few defense sets, or one of those cases, because you want to have him survivable to where he actually gets down to 50% so he can get this buff, because it's actually pretty nice. And honestly, it characters are kind of weird because the way you set up your team. So someone with a special, you might want to put them in a slot that you would continuously get 2 or 3s as your attacks, and I'll show you how that works in a second. But because you want to get up to 5, this actual number that you get to do this special comes from whether or not you do your bigger attacks or your regular attacks. So once you get up to a certain number that's required, which I do still believe it's 5 because that's what it used to be. I haven't seen in this game because I have not tried it, and I know they have changed some things, even though they haven't directly stated what they were. But you basically, you want to be in a position where you get these a lot if you're going to be using this special. His special attacks all opponents with 200, attacks all opponent with 120% attack, and stuns them for 1 turn with 80% probability. Stun is very good. Inflicts 20% extra damage while in limited remove status. This is a 20% bonus after the 120 is already applied. So it is kind of like a separate multiplier outside of what defense and everything gets always negated and applied. Right now, I'm probably just only going to go over the God of High School characters, because the actual list of characters is extremely long if I was to show you. And all these characters do different things. Let's go back God of High School. Now, characters do have tiers in this game, in which you have S, 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 A, and you did used to have lower tiers than A, but I believe they completely took those out and they just didn't put those in for this game. Because in Korea, you actually have a bit more characters in this, and that actually goes below A. But they did kind of revamp, because this is a total different start than what we started on in the Korean version. But next up, we're going to go to Jade Emperor. Now, the Jade Emperor, he attacks his opponent with the highest attack by 115%, removes one opponent's buff with a 70% probability. His 2, Blackfish Turtle Attraction, in which, if you actually read the series Inertia Attraction, these are moves that he does with his martial arts combined with his actual Jade Jade Emperor powers that he received from the Jade Emperor's eye slash mind. Attacks enemies with the highest attack. That's actually hitting one enemy. With 210%, reduces opponent's crit rate by 30, speed by 50. His 3 summons Heatite to pierce all enemies with 130% attack and recovers HP by 15% of maximum HP. So he is also a tank. And I would actually say that he is a better tank than Mori, but the only difference is Mori's tankiness comes from just his Mori's tankiness just pretty much comes from his stats and like let me show you. Mori's tankiness comes from the fact that he has a tank stat of defense, while his attack is not as high. He does have a tank stat of defense, and he does heal himself by his HP for a bit. And also, when he is boosted, he actually gives himself a shield. But on terms of actual who is a better tank in itself, just for absorbing damage, I would say Jade Emperor is actually better, because not only does he not only does he heal by his own HP, he also deflects damage. He has a debuff resist with his defense boost. He actually gets boosted anytime an enemy is eliminated and becomes immune to a status effect. And he removes all buffs from players with his ultimate. Now, one thing that you will see is that there are characters that have ultimates, and actually the characters that tend to have ultimates are older characters in the game. So while God of High School characters tend to mostly actually have ultimates, with the exception of like probably yeah, these five. These five don't have ultimates. Actually, she does. So it's only 4 characters out of all these characters, or 5 characters out of all these characters that don't have ultimates. Whereas if you head over to Hardcore Leveling Warrior, and you'll find that a whole lot of characters actually don't have ultimates within them. But don't let this discourage you from getting some of these characters, because some of these characters' passives alone are actually good enough to make up for the fact that they don't even have an ultimate at all. Such as like this character right here. Although I'm definitely probably giving you a different start on how to play this game. If you were to actually use A and S level characters, you could max these characters faster. You definitely can max these characters a whole lot faster, because you would receive them a whole lot more. Such as, I will show you right here that in my inventory I have 130 of Hardcore Leveling Warrior memories, which is like his memory fragments. And you can use these to boost him to his max 6-star level a whole lot faster than you can do to boost a Yeon Kun, since you only have 5 of these. And that goes for a lot of the A and S characters. It's just that SS takes a whole lot more to boost up. Now, if we go back to the characters here, some of these characters don't have passives at all. This one actually does. Now, we're going to go into these characters in another time. I was just showing you the difference, because I don't want this video to be too long. So I'm gonna stick specifically to all of the God of High School characters in this video. So yeah, he's definitely the better tank. Witch of the West Mirror. Now, Witch of the West Mirror is actually a mostly single damage targeter. She has 1 AoE attack, but she is a highly potent attacker. I wouldn't call her the best, but if you like her, that's fine. She isn't exactly, how would I put it? She isn't exactly in the meta of the game. So, she actually is in the S class and tipping into the A class for some of the actual content in the game that comes later, such as World Raid and the Event Boss. Now, as far as PvE and PvP, she's not bad. She's an S class, but people actually like there's a later version of her that comes from the manga that's right now going on right now, which is the whole they call it Holy War, Ymira. So yeah, she actually has a better version that hasn't been released yet. I would probably show you how that looks, but I don't have the Korean version on my phone. Now, Holy War Ymira is SS across the board. Like, she is good in every single thing possible. That's usually how the meta characters are. Like, Morrigan in his heavenly form is also almost SS across the board. The one, the Jade Emperor is also, he's all S across the board, which is tend to be why Morrigan is better than him and everyone picks him because he's better in capacity of damage. Not so much, I wouldn't say not so much as tanking since I do have them both on Korea, but I would say he tanks good enough that you would replace him for Jade Emperor because of his damage, unless you have them both, which actually still works to have them both in your team. Sujin Lee. Now, I used to actually use her as a tank before I had the Jade Emperor. Now, her first attack, she attacks opponent with 130% attack, boosts her own defense, which is the main reason why she's completely a tank. She boosts her own defense right here. Her second attack attacks opponent with high attack, deals damage, and deals an additional damage by 20% of her total HP. Taunts the enemy for one turn. If opponent is taunted, 20% of damage taken. Attacks enemy on her third with 220%. Taunts enemies to her 2 turns. Inflicts additional damage to all opponents equal to 25% of maximum HP. Makes damage that opponents receive boosted by 20%. She boosts her own defense, she boosts her own HP, she boosts her deflect, and she boosts her debuff accuracy. Taunts all opponent for one turn when HP falls below 80, silences them for 2 turns, and when HP falls below 40. And then her ultimate actually recovers a HP, taunts all opponents in the back row, recovers a total of 10% HP for 2 rounds if damage is taken more than 20% of HP. So this passive is what makes her probably I would say a true tank, right? Now, in a lot of content in game, you tend to find out later, like in certain instances, you will need a true tank. And in certain instances, you won't need a true tank and you would need the damage compensation instead. Because there are some places where you're getting hit, you can be getting hit by a defense resist attack. Not defense resist, defense negate attack. So if you're getting hit by defense negated attacks, you being a tank only matters so far as you having more HP. In which that case, you're better off just going with like Morrigan's heavenly form and giving him HP set and letting him do the extra amount of attack that he does to help you burst down whatever boss you're killing. Now, this passive is really good as a tank passive in itself. I used to use her for a lot of the game actually. She she does recover to 20% of the HP and she taunts. And if she gets attacked for more than that 20% of the HP within those 2 turns, she gains 10% of it back. So she basically recovers 40% of the HP. Let's go out of here. He tight. Now, this unit right here, I never exactly used her specifically. Um, I wouldn't even say that she's up there. She's not a meta character, nor is she a character that most people would consider to use. I rarely see this character in teams at all, actually. But I might just skip over this one. We're gonna go through this real quick though. Attacks one opponent with 90% of attack. Recovers HP. She is a support character though. Forgot to mention that. Recovers HP by 7%. Of heroes maximum HP recovers 7% of hero at the start of the turn. That's a bit confusing in wording. Attacks opponent with highest attack. Leaves Hite's foot stamp seal one turn. If ally attacks opponent with Hite's foot stamp seal, recovers Hite's HP by 17%. Seems like she's recovering herself more than actual people. Isolates two allies and heals them for one turn. Makes them immune to damage. Ooh. And recovers them by 30% of HP if Hittite skill isolated becomes invalid. HP boost, defense boost, generates shield for immune damage. One hit on all when. Ooh. Now see, here's the thing, right? That last passive would actually be okay if it wasn't when all allies died. Like, say if an ally died, she made one for the next lowest ally. That would even be better. But she does have a high defense rate. She has a pretty high HP. Her speed is up there, and her attack isn't that bad. The problem is that her in a team setting, she doesn't really do as much for the team, and she doesn't even really do that much for herself. So that what kind of takes her off the list of being a really good what's the name. Now I'm gonna speed through the S class. Okay. Now, um, this is Elipo Park. Elipo Park is all right. I actually wouldn't even call him the better of the S class. The better of the S class will actually be like Dwayne, huh? Dwayne Han. Oh man, I'm probably butchering these names, but his actual S form, in which you used to get for free, this is probably one of the better tanks for the S class. Like him, there are a few others, but I would say him and Yuri, High Yuri is actually probably the only two tanks you would really use for the S class that are still buildable and usable in their finals, like in their last form. Like even if you were to have all SS characters, and you could use him as a tank, and you would still actually be fine and pretty well in PvP. Not enough to make you number one, just because people in that spot are definitely using all the top tier characters that's like SS maxed out. But you would be pretty good with him. Now, Elipo Park, he also has a special. Puts his opponents in the status of burn. Puts burn on opponents. Has critical hit rate. Yeah, he's alright. Mainly I'm gonna probably go over their base. So bleed, poison, weakening HP back, put status with bleed, and attacks opponents with 130% attack chance. That inflicts an extra 50% to debuff. See, so he's based off of his debuff. That's the that's just the easier say for him. He is a debuff damage based character. Now, you're saying now he is a support character. He's going to boost damage to martial arts types, and he's going to decrease damage from evil types. So this is an evil type, which you see by this marker. Um, who else is an evil type? There's not many evil types in here besides him. Martial arts types are actually these. So this is a martial arts. She's a martial arts. Um, he is a martial arts, in which I actually tend to notice that martial arts types tend to be the tankier looking characters for some reason, or the more tankier seeming characters. If you look at all the martial arts that we have, they actually tend to always have the higher defense stats. And there are some things where it's not like this, but this is mostly the thing that I've noticed. Like before I knew this was called martial arts, I assumed that this was what the tank emblem was for tank stats. But in evil types, in which there are actually very few of, apparently most of them come from got what is it, hardcore leveling warrior. Most of the evil types come from hardcore leveling warrior, which is funny how this is actually, if you watch Tower of God, this is the soul part of White, the part that contains all of his souls that he stole from people. But yet this is the evil type, and White is actually just a skill type. Yeah, White is. Oh, he's not. No. White is. Where is he? He's right here. He's a weapon type. But that's besides the point. That's pretty much for these. You have the king, which is the Jade Emperor when he was reborn. Mori Jin, King Uma, and Miryu, who actually has a special, but she is actually not that good. Now, if you go to here, you can see these characters, in which these are usually the ones you want to go with. So, sorry about that. These two, Jade Emperor and Heavenly Warlord, Miru of the West, Duan Han, which you have to get his character first, and Sujin Lee. Ipo Park, if you actually want to actually get him up, but I would say mainly you would go with Sujin Han, Heavenly Warlord, Jade Emperor Han, Miru of the West for the God of High School characters, because that's the main set that is actually good to use. Now, I'm going to end this video because I don't want it to be too long, and I'm going to go into making more about the other set of characters. So this is the 25th VO here, and I'll be signing out.
최대한 빠르게 꺼낸다.